I record a square of paper by writing with a pencil. I record a square of clay by writing with a needle tool until that needle tool is replaced with a pencil and my pencil becomes my needle tool. I left my needle tool at home. I have a pencil. If I do not have my needle tool with me, I use my pencil instead. I score with my pencil instead. My pencil is a needle tool. My pencil is a tool of score, a scoring tool. Orange, binder clip, comb, drill bit, earring, fork, grill brush tine, hairpin, incense, jagged edge wheel, key, loop tool, match, needle, ornament, pencil, quill, ring, fingernail, scissors, tweezers, umbrella furl, vegetable peeler, whisk, X-Acto knife, yardstick, zip tie. A score is not just a tool, command, measure, mark, grade, technique, dialogue, way to quantify, assessment, attachment, rating, objective, notation, call for action, or semiotic arrangement. A score is an encounter, a point of contact or collision, structure of relationality. Scoring is not bound to the pencil in performance, nor the needle tool in ceramics. Reorienting my relationship to objects allows them to live other lives and in turn changes the lives we live, potentially effective. The pencil extends the ability of my hand only as it leaves marks on a page. The capacity of my pencil as a tool, as the extension of my hand, was once confined to that of writing and is initially liberated as a mark maker in a general sense. However, this pervading thought extends the usefulness of my pencil further. I need an armature, and so I use my pencil as an armature. I use my pencil as a model. I use my pencil as a stir stick. I use my pencil to smooth the clay. My pencil is very useful indeed. As the pencil becomes other tools and meets other needs, its capacity for usefulness expands and the possibility for improvisation is brought forth. Completing pencil and needle tool through this situational requirement fosters transdisciplinary inquiry that explores traditional understanding of functionality and usefulness. Scoring is a way to challenge our perceptions of what is possible. The poetics of ceramics meets that of performative writing, as I write a score in clay and then score that score on paper, reorienting my pencil back to the page. I am scoring a score, scoring a score, scoring, scored, score, score, scored, score, score, scores, a score, score, scoring, score, scores. Scoring clay marks scratches into its surface in a similar way that my scratchy attempts at writing are left behind on paper. Scratches are in the direction of motion and hatch an archive that indexes the haptic and somatic. Scoring is a telling of the somatic channeled through haptic expression, creating the opportunity for more meaningful attention to bodies and the things they leave behind. Scoring records, holding the memory of a multiplicity of micro-movements, both in the remnant of the mark and the spaces between those marks. The space around the score is the visible form, drawing attention to an unmarked material. A trench is unearthed in a swift gesture while surrounding space is simultaneously left untouched. A score follows the intentionality of these movements, leaving to trace embodied knowledge, revealing the ways in which my body knows to push the material with each quick strike. Scoring is the action of a score. A sharp extension makes all the difference, balanced here in a tripod of digits. Prop to the dish, rising to task, hung by the lever arm tucked as a mass. The corner of the thigh meets the hip, a contracted pocket that guides the tip, to the place where the needle meets the clay, marking the lead and making it fray. A cramp goes through a shooting star, but to stop goes against all that we are. A violent collision tearing through pulp, the hand knows that it cannot stop. Fibers lay a terrain of cross-hatched trenches, marking the body is a scoring machine made senseless. Clay keeps score in a touching revolution as scoring is a strategic action verb that carves out space to think through bodily conflict, a joining of tangible experience, embodied knowledge, and sensory networks of feeling. In this case, there are several possibilities. My feeling and knowledge within collide in the physical barrier of my skin, crossing a porous membrane to become tangible. My body collides with my pencil as I then use it to collide with the paper. The paper collides with the pencil and then with my body. The pencil collides with my hand and then is carried over to collide with the paper. My body collides with my scoring tool and I then use it to collide with the clay. The clay collides with the scoring tool and then with my body. The scoring tool collides with my hand and then is carried over to collide with the clay. When the pencil is my scoring tool, I then may substitute the paper for clay, and then pencil is substituted in the described series of collisions. I have not considered the relationality with the desk or that which contains my body in these descriptions of collision, although they do indeed collide, as my vibrancy, my digital atomic vibration, meets that of my world as an interrelational network of becoming through magnetic engagements and of touch and its vibrations of consequence. Meaning is made through the collision of body, clay, and tool. Sometimes this collision only exists between body and clay, and at other times, like in the case of scoring, the collision of body and clay exists through the intermediary of tool. Confronting material by breaking through surface guides this transformation, activating material memory as context and content are altered and its surface is rewritten. The fibers that weave across and within the surface unravel in a communicative performance of things I know, things I do not, and how to touch. The communicative potential of a score changes how the past and our ancestors are understood through impression and material memory. Rather than relying on a written or oral accounts of history, it is possible to touch the past and feel what has happened as the material holds on to the past in the present through its indexical capacity to retain memory. When we score, we leave behind a physical trace of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Scoring and feeling through scores is a collision with the past in terms of lineages of those who have scored. In the memory of a score once written, inscribed, indexed, ingrained, enmeshed, retained, and pressed to be remembered, recalled, and revisited. A score is a citation for the already performed to be performed again. Infinity is the framework of a score as it is performed in each moment in the sand by a stick, in a crater by the asteroid, and in my wrist by my elastic band. The tool that scores oscillates between pencil and needle tool. By moving beyond the confinement of these objects, and the score shifts alongside the tool as paper or clay are not the only materials to be scored. Scoring tools that score things is composed of a co-laboring assembly unbound to a singular being, but are defined as a mixture of different materials that work together as a vibrant and coextensive group. Residue persists through a series of micro and macro doings that reference similar doings that have happened, are happening, and will happen. By enacting the making and use of scores, time converses in a single happening, and repetition, valuing the multiplicity of time, highlighting an assemblage of connections through space-time conceptualized through the score performed again. I grab a handful of clay. I am unable to access clay. I failed before I began. I reach for a piece of paper. The paper is too flat. I walk to the store. The store is too expensive. I purchase a pad of palette paper. The plastic is empty. I throw the plastic away. The receipt is smeared. I throw away the receipt. The paper is scored. I rip at the score. Scoring is useful. I place the paper on a wooden desk. The desk is hard. I turn the palette paper waxed underside up. The wax shines. I grab a needle tool. I left my needle tool. I stumble around for a stick. The stick is too blunt. I find a sewing needle. The sewing needle is too sharp. I take lead from a mechanical pencil. I break the pencil. I collide with an upholstery needle. My finger is bleeding. I recover. I take up the needle. I strike the paper. The paper is torn. I remember silicone. I place the silicone under the paper. The silicone is orange. I meet the paper with the needle. Wax is clearing a path. I am scoring again. Scoring is residue left behind with each repetition. However, each score is different as repetition is never attained. As a score is performed, it reproduces difference in the present space, time, subjects, and objects. Repetition as framework cultivates embodied knowledge, as the muscles have a memory and as a clay body remembers. If clay is formed into a bowl and then flattened to dry, the edges will curl as it seeks the bowl it once was. Within each repetition, as bodies remember, is a trace or the residue of the previous repetition. This is the performativity of a score. As scoring is an action accumulated as assemblage of marks, each mark contains the residue of the past in a lineage of knowing and teaching that knowing. I leave pieces of regenerative knowledge of those who taught me to score and of those who have taught them. The first score comes through the residue of my own scoring. The trajectory for scored clay is towards the furnace, as the heat will change the clay to stone and it will last an eternity. A written score may avoid the heat by being preserved. However, eventually it will be burned to make room for other floors. Scoring increases surface adhesive ability, as the trenches made are a sticky opportunity for collisions where materials engulf each other, merging into becoming of one another. Scored things may join as the joinery of a hook and loop. In ceramics, scoring is intended as the amnesia of transformation, as clay forgets its singular past to resurface from the furnace's singular fusion at once many score things into a forced union with other clay pieces. In this afterlife of clay, as ceramic object, a new life persists, where the process of scoring remains unseen or even forgotten, but never erased. The communicative potential of a score goes beyond materials and bodies through space-time understood through impression and material memory. The residue of these lives and afterlives are always held beneath the sealed joint, ready to be found again as the object is broken.